They're all right.
They must be going through hell out there.
Channel 5's Pam Dale, keeping you in touch.
A frightening moment in Tokyo earlier today. Now President Bush is back on his feet as crucial trade talks with the Japanese draw to a climax.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
There are times when you have to wonder why anyone in his or her right mind would want to be President of the United States. Exhibit A, George Bush. Here is a man who is almost certainly still suffering some of the after effects of a stomach virus. In all probability, he wishes that he were home in bed. Instead, he has to subject himself to the microscopic examination of the world media, convince all of us, and through us, all of you, that he is fine, really terrific, thank you very much. And now, President Bush and Prime Minister Miyazawa of Japan, who by most accounts have made very little progress in resolving their real trade policy differences, Bush and Miyazawa are about to move behind closed doors for one more round of talks. In a couple of hours, they'll hold a live joint news conference at which they will try and put the best possible face on what they have or have not achieved. Try all of that on a badly upset stomach. The president's welfare, as ABC's Bill Redeker now reports from Tokyo, has been the object of international concern for much of the past 18 hours, until he showed up in public again, or at least planned to show up in public again just minutes ago. Bill?
Ted, the president got up fairly early this morning, made a few phone calls, including one to the vice president, and then spent the rest of the day resting. As you mentioned, he is expected to make his first appearance since the incident last night in a matter of moments at a bilateral session with the Prime Minister of this nation, Kiichi Miyazawa. You can make sure that the White House today will try to make sure that the president is very visible for all of the right reasons.
Earlier, at a White House briefing, spokesman Marlin Fitzwater said the president is well, but
he still is suffering from some weakness related to the flu, but the major symptoms have subsided. All of the president's vital signs this morning are normal, as they were last night. There is no indication of any illness other than the common flu. No medication has been prescribed for today.
Commerce Secretary Robert Mosbacher sat in for the president at an early morning breakfast meeting with American business executives. He is also scheduled to tour a Kodak research and development plant the president had hoped to visit before falling ill. It all looked a lot worse than it really was. The president vomited, fainted, and then slumped to the floor. He was eventually helped to his feet by Secret Service agents, managed to wave to the crowd, and was then taken to a state guest house where he was treated with stomach medicine before retiring for the night. The president's bout with the flu temporarily overshadowed the trade talks being held here. They have been described as delicate and difficult, but several minor concessions have already been offered by the Japanese. On imports of American autos, Japan's biggest car makers have agreed to try to sell more by importing more and expanding their dealership networks. On imports of American auto parts, at Tokyo's urging, Japan will try to double the amount it buys from the U.S., boosting the level to nearly $20 billion by the year 1994. But whether these measures will stimulate demand is questionable. Japanese consumers believe their own cars or those that are made in Germany are simply better than those that are made in the USA.
The main reason that the Americans don't have a larger presence here is because they don't pursue one. The main reason that the Japanese have a larger presence in North America is because they give North American consumers the products that they want at the price they wish to pay.
Although the chairman of GM, Chrysler, and Ford disagree, they are taking no chances. Their solution amounts to limiting Japanese exports to the United States to eventually erase the $40 billion trade surplus.
We have suggested they bring the total deficit down 20%, not just cars and trucks. Cars, trucks, and parts happen to be 3/4 of it. Tough ass. I mean, that's life, okay? So just take it down 20% at a time. It took them 5 years to get the $40 billion. That's why we picked 5 years. It should take 5 years to get down to some reasonable level.
That sort of tough talk, which analysts say amounts to managed trade, puts Detroit on a collision course with the free market beliefs of the president.
But what I'm not favoring is some government agreement that sets these in concrete, like a protectionist at home would have you do, because inevitably that will lead to a trading partner with whom we have a surplus saying, coming, hey, how about us?
In addition to autos, the American and Japanese business leaders are discussing access to Japan's tightly controlled financial services market, computer industry, glass and paper trade. So far, few agreements have been reached.
What the two leaders did is to try to present a positive environment for the negotiators on both sides to bring all the detailed negotiations, and some of them are immensely detailed, to a conclusion which would be a satisfactory conclusion.
The United States has also asked Japan for $1 billion to help finance a super collider project in Texas. The Japanese say that will take more study. On the broader issue of worldwide economic reform, Treasury Secretary Nicholas Brady says an agreement has been reached, but the main element, lower interest rates, are already in place in both countries.
You can say just because it didn't happen a half an hour ago that it isn't significant. I don't think that's particularly accurate or insightful. The fact of the matter is that the Japanese interest rate change, which happened on the 30th December, was not preordained by anybody. It was a surprise.
Both the president and Japanese Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa want American business leaders to leave Japan with something for their troubles. Bush to prop up the sagging American economy and his re-election campaign, Miyazawa to avoid calls for protectionism and shore up his waning political fortunes here in Tokyo.
Analysts both here and in the United States agree that whatever is accomplished this week in Tokyo may simply add up to window dressing, a quick fix, that the troubles that beset the U.S. economy are actually homegrown and will require years of reform on the other side of the Pacific. This is Bill Redeker for Nightline in Tokyo.
And now a quick switch live to Tokyo, where President Bush and Japanese Prime Minister Miyazawa are present for what was scheduled to be a photo opportunity. The president appears to be speaking. Let's see if we can listen in.
Running this afternoon. I take close to back to normal. This is a 24-hour thing. Apparently I got it for the evening. So, but I really do feel pretty good with it. And not as strong as I'd like to be, but strong enough to continue on.
Are you going to slow down the pace a little bit, sir?
Nope.
Why not?
Because everybody gets the flu. Some of you guys have had it. You can't change your pace because of that. This is just a 24-hour club. I've been very lucky, knock on wood, for the last 3 years. And I've been relatively spared the flu. I had a flu shot, so I hope that would guard against it. But all signs for everything, but the heart and all the EKG, all these things they do just to double check are perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Do you think you're going to get the sweeping changes on trade that you wanted instead of the piecemeal changes that you talked about?
So we're going to talk about that today, but the Prime Minister has been extremely cooperative, and we're going to have a good discussion. But I'd rather wait until we get a full package to discuss. But put it this way, I want to put words in his mouth, but I'm quite encouraged. And as you know, from day one, even before we got here, Prime Minister Miyazawa's approach has been one of that I've appreciated very, very much. I think he's stead, and now the way he's driving his team to do what I'm doing, driving our team to come to agreement. So, if you want to add,
I'm so glad to work with your president that I think everything all right. We'll shortly announce our joint resolve this afternoon. And I'm glad the president is in such good shape and he can now enjoy the rest of his stay here. And so he's taking dinner by this evening.
So anyway, when it all worked out well, a little alarm there. I felt so embarrassed. I got a preview in the receiving line, and I turned to the Prime Minister and I said, "Would you please excuse me?" And I rushed into the men's room there, and then I thought that had taken care of it. But back I came, and it hadn't at all. It's just the beginning.
Are you going to tell him to take it easy on you today in the trade talks because you've been ill?
Mr. President, did you see the TV pictures of what happened last night, sir?
I'm not sure I want to, but I heard it was pretty dramatic.
Did you see it?
I didn't.
No. Just no. I thought nothing ugly or anything. No.
Lights, please. Thank you very much.
Really, what? Really sexy, man. Well, later.
Thank you.
Feel better, sir. Feel better.
All right, there it is. What would normally have been a rather commonplace thing that we would not even have bothered bringing to you live, namely a photo opportunity between President Bush and Japanese Prime Minister Miyazawa, but something that took on additional importance in that it was the first time that we have seen President Bush since his incident of last night at that state dinner in Japan. And you heard him say when one of the reporters asked him if he was going to slow down, no reason to, just a 24-hour flu. And we let that run for a little bit so that you could hear the byplay between the reporters there and President Bush. When we come back, Commerce Secretary Robert Mosbacher, a close friend of the president, who has been one of the key negotiators in this week's trade talks in Japan. We'll talk with him.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by DuPont.
Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years, but she'll discover it tomorrow after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Cutbacks continue.
Recession.
Politicians.
Crime. Pollution.
Daycare. Not having any time.
Job insecurity.
You never needed it more. A new extra-strength pain reliever made to get today's tough headaches before they really get you. 1,000 milligrams, stomach guard, and the name Bayer. That should ease your mind. Introducing new extra-strength Bayer Plus. Now there's no pain you can't bear.
Every second.
Every second.
Every minute. Every hour.
Every hour.
Of every day.
Every day.
News is happening.
Everywhere.
News happens everywhere. And you can count on Channel 5's Dennis Doda and Gail Nye and ABC's Peter Jennings to take you there.
Everywhere.
It's us and them. Every motorist nightmare, sliding under a monster truck. For 20 years, these accidents didn't have to happen. Primetime tells why Thursday.
The president's 24-hour flu has proved to be something of a dramatic diversion from what was, after all, the principal reason for his going to Japan in the first place, namely the trade imbalance between Japan and the United States, and some fairly tough talks that have been going on for quite a long time now between the two countries. A couple of hours ago, I spoke with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Robert Mosbacher, who is a close associate of the President's and one of his chief negotiators. Mr. Secretary, the talks with the Japanese, if I am to believe some of the reports that I'm seeing here, have been a little tougher, a little more acrimonious than I'm sure you folks were hoping when you went over. Give us your assessment, now that they are effectively over, on what you achieved and what you failed to achieve.
Well, Ted, I come over every time, and I've been here many times, as you know, with the hope that they'll be easier the next time. It is not proven to be true, but I think the signal they're getting this time is that, as some of our business friends have told me, they get more credibility because they're here with the President. It's showing the Japanese and others around the world that the public sector and the private sector are together and working on the U.S. economic security, whether it's jobs or building business or building exports. So they're getting that message, and things have happened that would never have happened without it. So far, we certainly haven't gotten everything that we think we should, but we're making real progress.
What'd you get?
Let's wait till the trading's over before we talk about the results.
Well, you know, the fact of the matter is when the President goes over there with senior members of his cabinet, with some of the top barons of industry in this country, inevitably, and let's face it, the White House to a certain degree raised expectations, inevitably people are going to be saying, fine, what'd you achieve? Now, you're saying all the right words, you're humming the right music, but so far I haven't heard you say anything specific that you've achieved.
Well, I can tell you that we haven't left Japan yet, first. Secondly, we started in Asia. We helped open markets there. We went to Singapore, where Singapore has good market system, but the Prime Minister there said, wonderful, it's building our trade, come back with more business people. So did the business people there. It worked for all the Asian nations that were there. It showed several things, that we want to do more selling in that part of the world. We want to trade more. We want to build our international business, and it sends a signal that you can send no other way. Same was true in Korea. We're working on it, and I think it's already been true here in Japan. But you can't yet, and I will not, point to the specific things because we're hoping to and expect to add to some of the things that you've already seen in the papers or perhaps talked about.
You apparently got some kind of an offer from one of your counterparts, Mr. Watanabe, and you are quoted as having said to him, I'd be embarrassed to show this to the President. True?
Well, those weren't the words, but let me say, in my view, the Japanese have not come nearly far enough towards opening their markets. That's what we're looking for, market access. We're not asking for any sort of closing down or protectionism. That's the wrong way to go. It's the wrong way to go for the U.S., because it's going to lose jobs in the U.S. if we go that way. But we're saying to the Japanese industry and to the Japanese government, open your markets up, not just for U.S. autos and auto parts, but for all the other things that are both represented with us and through associations like the U.S. Chamber and the Small Business Group. It covers a whole broad spectrum of business.
You, just before you left to go to Japan, were on Meet the Press. And at that time, you sort of grudgingly conceded that, yes, maybe the Japanese bore some responsibility for the U.S. recession. They don't buy that at all. I mean, they absolutely reject that argument. I assume that there's been some discussion of that. Can you fill us in on that a little bit?
What I said is they've exacerbated the problem. And by that I mean, if they had been willing to open their markets for all these items we've been talking about, you know, from the services like insurance to glass to auto parts to computers and a whole laundry list, that would have created more jobs in the U.S. and would have meant certainly fewer layoffs, and it would have helped the economy. That's what I meant.
Robert Mosbacher speaking from Tokyo with us a couple of hours ago. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Deputy Washington Bureau Chief for the Wall Street Journal. who calls the president's Asian trip an unmitigated disaster.
These slip down one more time. I'm fed up with glasses that don't fit.
You don't have to put up with glasses that don't fit anymore. Because at LensCrafters, we have so many new ways to make glasses more comfortable.
LensCrafters glasses fit your snug points with features like new snug fit hinges that hug your head and won't lose their gentle hold. LensCrafters, for that cushion of comfort you've always wanted.
I never knew glasses could be this comfortable.
LensCrafters, better fit for greater comfort in about an hour.
Doing it yourself can save you a lot of money if you get it right the first time. Make sure you do. Ask Ace.
An Ace 6-outlet surge suppressor is just $5.44, and 4-foot cool white fluorescents are just 79 cents each.
Ace Best Buy is another reason Ace is the place for you.
I can't remember. It was something new.
Nicoderm, nicotine transdermal system.
It's called Nicoderm. Oh, yeah, the patch.
Nicoderm, huh?
Yeah, it's a patch.
Nicoderm, nicotine transdermal system.
Time really does a number on your car. At Maaco, we're ready to do a number on your car, too. But this number you'll like, half. We're only half price. A great Maaco paint job. Now during our
Maaco half-price paint sale.
Right now, come to your local Maaco Center and get a $449.95 Maaco Supreme paint job for only $225. That's just half price.
So come on in. For half price, we'll paint the whole car.
Fire on ice. Skating sexy Katerina Witt, savaged when communism fell apart.
It was a painful experience.
Watch Primetime Thursday.
Tomorrow, an update on the president's health.
Then how you can be the winner in the long-distance phone wars, plus Rebecca De Mornay on Good Morning America tomorrow.
Joining us from our Washington studio now is Alan Murray, the Deputy Washington Bureau Chief of the Wall Street Journal, and joining us once again, this time live from Tokyo, ABC News correspondent Bill Redeker, who's been covering the president's trip to Japan. Bill, a quick précis. Is it too early to make any kind of judgment as to how this trip has gone?
A little bit early. There'll be more announcements as the day wears on, but I do think you'll see the Japanese making some concessions. They'll put the best face on it. I think Washington, for whatever it gets, will claim it as scored a victory. But I think what's being forgotten in all of this is that you've got to appeal to this marketplace, and so far the Americans in the consumer market don't create much that the Japanese want. They want luxury goods, they go to Europe. They want cheap goods, they go to Southeast Asia.
All right, Alan Murray, I wasn't exactly putting words in your mouth, but I may have taken words that were in your mouth a few hours ago and that you may wish now that you had not said. Unmitigated disaster?
No, Ted, I didn't, and I wouldn't say it was an unmitigated disaster. I think some of these measures may, over a long period of time, actually help our trade problems with Japan. Particularly significant is the agreement to sharply increase auto exports. But the president sold this trip as an effort to do something about the recession. I don't think there is anything in this package, or can be anything in this package, that is going to help our economic problems over the next 12 months. And the other thing to keep in mind here is that the White House geared this trip to be a public relations trip. It was an effort to try and show that the president could turn his foreign policy expertise into domestic economic advantage. And on that score, I do think the trip has been a disaster. And I'm not just talking here about his unfortunate feigning incident at dinner. The president has been widely lampooned, both in this country and in Japan, for appearing to be a little more than an auto salesman, a sort of a high-level pitchman, and I do think that's embarrassing. And there's also been an embarrassing back and forth with the chairman of the big three auto companies. They are supporting a policy that he opposes, and yet he has given them an unprecedented platform from which to push for that policy. So it's even a lot of members of the president's own party feel very uncomfortable with the way this is going.
Be specific, Alan. What is the policy that they are pushing that he opposes?
The three chairmen of the U.S. auto companies right now are pretty much working hand in glove with Democratic legislators on legislation that would, in effect, force the Japanese to sharply reduce their auto exports to the U.S. The president opposes that. The administration opposes that. and yet they've given them a platform from which to push for that policy.
What exactly is the president going to be pointing to as he comes back to the United States? And he's quite literally going to be able to come back, maybe take a quick nap and head off to New Hampshire. What is it that he's going to be able to sell up in New Hampshire as having come out of this trip?
Well, I think the most significant thing, again, will be this agreement by the Japanese auto companies to sharply boost their purchases of auto parts.
And what is that going to mean in terms of jobs? We are talking about, what, $20 billion worth of auto parts by 1984? That sounds like a lot of money, sounds like a lot of jobs.
Well, it is a lot, but it's going to be a difficult thing to keep track of because we don't know how much that would have increased anyway. And we're not going to see those jobs over the course of the next year, which of course is when we really need them.
And what about the promise of some of these Japanese automakers to start selling, I forget what the precise number is, 20,000 American cars over the next year?
Well, that's right, but of course, as people have already pointed out on this show, a principal reason that we don't sell cars in Japan is because we don't try to sell cars in Japan. We haven't even designed a car for the Japanese market. Now, Ford Motor Company says it's going to do that. It's going to put together a car for the Japanese market, but it's going to spend the next 20 months designing that car. So it's not even going to be designed until 20 months from now. Again, it's hard to expect any immediate payback from those sorts of measures.
Alan, we have about 10 seconds left. If not unmitigated disaster, pick another term.
I think if the president could do it all over again, he would cancel the trip.
Alan Murray of the Wall Street Journal, thank you very much. I'll be back in a moment with a program note about tomorrow.
Today, Tektret Shoe Corporation announced a major retail expansion in 25 U.S. cities.
When I see a company that looks like a good investment, I check it out myself.
We make it easier to follow your own lead.
At Charles Schwab, I can get quotes, financial news, and when I make a trade, commission savings.
Always there to give you just the help you need.
Help yourself at Schwab today.
Ford Motor Company. Profiles in quality. Teamwork.
We work good as a team here on a job like this where all four of us can work together. That's what I said in '82. And today, teamwork is more important than ever.
Our paint job is only as good as a primer coat.
My primer coat's only as good as the body prep.
My body prep starts with a quality body panel. Together, our goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world.
At Ford, quality is job one.
In weather this raw, don't take chances with chapped lips. Take Chapstick. Chapstick lip balm is serious medicine, made to help chapped lips heal fast and healthy lips stay healthy. This winter, don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
A cold starts small, but before you know it, your cold is full grown. Maximum strength Dimetapp relieves sneezing and congestion. 12-hour Dimetapp Extend tabs. Relief for the full-grown cold.
To me, Taekwondo is not just a part-time thing. It's a way of life for me. It's my full-time job, and I put as much into it as I can. I teach all the classes, and I see to it that every class I give a speech on some type of moral or value, so the children, especially in the class, can get something out of that, learn how to be honest, not stealing, and not taking drugs and alcohol and that type of thing. So we stress the morals and value a lot, I think probably more than a lot of the other clubs.
Right now, two can join for the price of one at Farrell's Taekwondo.
Nightline exclusive, an interview with New York Governor Mario Cuomo. It's Governor Cuomo's first television interview since he announced last month that he would not be running for the Democratic nomination for president. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been Nightline. If you wish a videocassette version of Nightline, the cost is $14.98 plus $3.95 shipping and handling.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. Tomorrow, it's a Columbo movie mystery every week.
Who's that man in the raincoat?
Forgive me, I didn't mean to intrude.
You've got it all figured out, haven't you?
I know you did it, but without a body, I can't prove it.
Then you better keep looking.
Peter Falk stars in Columbo Cries Wolf. Tomorrow at 8, 7 Central.
A slight chance of flurries overnight with a low in the lower 20s.